Good day everyone. So one of the things we desperately need in Genshin Impact is a proper way to check new characters for their DPS and healing potential so that we can assess whether they are actually worth getting. So what you can see here in the background is me playing the new 6.7 beta. Obviously we're allowed to stream it from Honkai, and what I want to introduce to you today is the concept of this DPS checking. So imagine you've got Catgirl and you want to compare Catgirl against the new upcoming character, the Idol Girl. So how are you going to do it? Well, basically, if you want to, for instance, take my opinion about it, we can actually go and test a lot of things about these characters. So imagine you want different weapon types, you want different builds, all these sorts of things can really matter. And the big thing is I want to make a comparison. So how do we do it? Well, we literally go into a training range and we beat up the monsters, and as you can see there on screen on the left hand side, you have a little section that pops up and says here is your average DPS, here is the damage you've done in the last 5 and 12 seconds, and here is your total damage. So immediately when I start playing these characters, I'm using a set rotation, I'm using a set build, I can immediately get raw numbers from the game. It's not in a stupid spreadsheet, it's not in some little simulator that some people wrote, it's the actual thing in the actual game that can actually be tested. And what's so beautiful about this is that I can now make different comparisons. I can say, if you use this and this rotation, this character might be better than this character. Or if you're only going to use these builds, we can make the comparison. Or if someone says, look, I don't like what you're doing, please change up your rotation, you don't know what you're doing A, B, C and not B, C, A, it's like, no problem, we can test that out. So this to me feels much more robust when it comes to actually testing characters. So if someone really wanted to ask me for my recommendation, this feels like it's a much more solid platform to stand on. I can actually give evidence and say, well, okay, let's look at the numbers, and if you don't disagree, why do you disagree and what do you want me to change? And this is just so good. So there you can see there's our average DPS, about 800,000 in 40 seconds. So the question of course is now, well, what's the Catgirl gonna do if we put her in the exact same situation with the amount of energy and all of this? So I'll play it obviously here in the background, but hopefully you guys can see why this is so good and why having something like this in Genshin would be so awesome. I wish we had a training range, a dummy that can stand still, dummies that can, for instance, move. All of these things would be so good from a content creation perspective, and also to properly settle certain debates, because as much as people like their waifus or their husbands or whatever, unfortunately, DPS and character performance matters. We've seen this with Daya, and one of the things obviously in Honkai here is DPS, but you can imagine something in Genshin gives you heals per second or damage mitigated per second or some sort of other metric to assess character value. That would be like so awesome. So from my perspective, the fact that we don't have this, the fact that this is not even information that is publicly made available, is just crazy to me, because how are people actually supposed to make good informed decisions? To me, this is always open to being challenged. You can always say, I don't agree with you, test something else, you know, but in Genshin it's just literally, well, trust me, bro. I know what I'm doing. I can play Nilo teams well. It's we say that Nilo, Kale, Nahida, and Kokomi is the best meta team, and now we think it's perhaps Kirara. But you know, a lot of people might be like, well, you know, what is it really? Can I really trust you? And there's so much. You can imagine why there's so much controversy, because on the one hand you've got the guys doing the spreadsheets, you've got other people speed running the game, and it's just a hodgepodge. It's just a big mess. But this is more precise, and this is why I like it. So yeah, let me know whether you like this concept, whether you like the idea of a DPS checker, keeping in mind that we do not necessarily have to have something like this. A variation to check healing or damage mitigation can also be viable, but goodness me, we need something in Genshin.